In today's video, we'll be walking through the 4 stages of retirement wealth so you can understand your retirement wealth level. And if you don't like it, I'm going to show you how you might improve it. Over the past 12 years, my team and I have guided clients within all 4 of the retirement wealth stages, helping them not just plan for retirement, but truly optimize their wealth at every stage of their financial lives. You see, many people struggle to accurately measure where they're at in the 4 stages of retirement wealth. And if you don't recognize these different stages, then it can lead to misguided decisions and missed opportunities. So in this video, we're going to clarify this. Today, I'm going to break down each of the 4 stages of wealth in retirement. We'll talk about how you might compare to others using actual metrics, and I'll show you how to accelerate your progress if you can. So let's get into it. The first level of retirement wealth, and you might have guessed it, we call it survival. And the survival stage is when a family is primarily relying on Social Security benefits and they have a modest personal savings. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of Americans age 50 plus find themselves headed towards. And a report put out by Western Southern said that people between the ages of 55 and 66 have an average account savings of $256,244. But you got to remember that the average includes people with much less, as well as people who have much more. People in this survival stage find themselves trying to just cover their absolute essentials. They really have limited flexibility for their discretionary spending, and they're living almost paycheck to paycheck. And when they're faced with unexpected costs in retirement, they go through their savings pretty quickly, and ultimately they exhaust them within the first 10 years or so of retirement. So maybe you're watching this and you're like, I'm so grateful that this is not me. But you recognize how easily it could be you. And that can be useful because it can create gratitude. And maybe you're watching this and this is you, meaning you feel that this is a real possibility for you and you want to avoid and maybe get closer to that second stage of retirement wealth rather than this first stage of dependence and survival. So if this is possibly going to be you and you're fortunate enough to see that today, then I'm going to tell you 3 things that you can do, and I'm going to share those with you, and then we'll move on to the next 3 levels of retirement wealth. The very first thing you can do is to be happier at work. Reduce your stress if you can, okay? And maybe take less hours at work, take a different role at work, because it means you can work more years. And there's a lot of positive side effects to having lower stress, and ultimately just be happier. And that's something we should all do, but especially if you're facing having to work longer than you want to. The next thing you can do is audit your spending and reduce your debts, because reducing any debts means that you're also able to save more money in your retirement accounts. And when you're saving more money in your retirement accounts, be sure to save money in cash, because you don't want to end up at retirement only with money in your IRAs. You want to have some money that's not inside of a place that you have to pay taxes every time you go to pull it out. And the third thing you can do if you find yourself in this situation is you can try to maximize your Social Security. You see, the cost of living adjustment will be with you throughout your retirement, and that can come in really handy because it'll at least give you some level of raises throughout retirement. So try doing at least those 3 things and see if you can move yourself closer to the next stage of retirement wealth. Now, that next stage of retirement wealth I would refer to as stretching. And stretching is not inherently a bad stage, but it is a place where a lot of people find themselves. And the best way to describe this would be that you're just stretching to get to that next place, and maybe you're a little bit stressed about it. And it's better than the survival stage because you do have a significant amount of retirement savings. You've got the house you want, you drive the car you want, but the key difference is that you realize that there's a danger of you retiring at a fraction of your current lifestyle. Or to keep your current lifestyle, you're going to be living your retirement in stress. And I call this a stage because it could be just that. It could be something that you can shift out of and maybe get to that next stage, but it's going to take some work. Signs that will help you to identify that this stage is you can be you're on track to replace less than 70% of your current salary. Some people have such a disproportionate amount of savings compared to their income and lifestyle that they're maybe on track to do something like replacing 40% of their income, and that can be a pretty dramatic drop. Another sign is consumer debts are making it hard to save extra money for retirement, and maybe they won't be paid off by the time you retire. You want to look at your track record. Have you continually maintained payments for toys or luxuries? And keep in mind, if it's a short-term thing, that's different than having a track record. Another sign is that you're going to try to keep the same car for the rest of your life. A lot of times people have this fatalist mentality where they think they're going to try to buy a new car and keep it for 20 to 30 years. And they do this because they really feel like their plan can't afford to keep a well-maintained and upgraded car. And a lot of times that's because they're allocating too much cash, spending it somewhere else in their lifestyle. All right, the last sign is that you want a bigger lifestyle, but you can't find a way to pay for it, but you also can't find a way to let it go. You want a second home, you want that airplane, you want that boat, and it's difficult to reconcile, do I have what it takes to keep this vision for myself, or should I let some things go? And this can be difficult because it can be very hard for people to define what is enough. Like when have I won the race? And really keep that lifestyle within a certain level. And all of these things are creating pressure on your financial situation. And I find people do one of two classic survival responses. They either obsess over it day and night, or they ignore it. And we know the only correct solution is to take some sort of action and do things to get off this course that you're on so you can enter into that next stage. So there's 3 things that you can do, and I'll put it out there in hopes that you take action and you don't ignore the collision course that you might be on, but you can do with it what you will. And over the years, I've learned that I can't help people any more than they're able to take action or they want to take action for themselves. So here they are. Clarify your financial story. Okay, get your basic facts down in writing, your income sources, your investments, your debts, all the classic financial planning information. Next, identify the real cost of living. Yes, it's going to go up with inflation, but it's going to change with your unique spending pattern. Will you be paying off your house over a few years? Will you be paying off some consumer debt? And you do this exercise because you want to see the true cost of keeping up the lifestyle that you want and keeping it in place. And then you make some hard choices. You might have to work longer, or you might have to find a way to let go. Because you don't want to end up back in the survival stage someday. And there are some things to be grateful for here. You're not in the survival stage right now. You're getting clarity on your challenges earlier, so you might be able to do something about it. And there are benefits for doing work at this stage. And those benefits that you experience are a lightening of the burden because it's no longer a mystery and you've put together a plan that you've come to terms with and that you believe is possible. That's the most important thing, is that you believe it's possible. And in the best case scenario, you advance yourself to the 3rd stage of retirement wealth, and we refer to this 3rd stage as stability. Now, as an aside, if you want to learn more about how you can optimize your retirement plan across any of these phases, click the link in the description after this video to watch another video where I break this down even further. All right, phase 3, we call it stability. When you're at the stability phase in retirement, it means that you have sufficient financial resources and planning in place to maintain a comfortable standard of living throughout your post-work years, and you can do so without economic stress or uncertainty. So people here, they're able to drive an average car, they have an average home, they have money enough to take a nice vacation, they can afford the food that they want, and they can do the things that they want to do. Sure, there's not an overflow of an abundance where money doesn't matter, but it's very comfortable. We often find that people who are living in this sort of stable retirement, they get there by paying attention to their budget at least 5 years before they retire. They pay down debt quite a bit, they fill up that emergency savings account, and they end up having some planned, regular, discretionary spending money. They spend it without worrying about it. When the grill breaks, they can afford to replace their grill. And I'll tell you what the range of wealth is for this stage, but keep in mind that it can vary depending upon the type of lifestyle that you have. And I know that the most common question people ask us all the time is, how does my wealth compare to the average American my age? We're itching to know, but it's not going to be a straight answer, and a straight answer doesn't really matter. It's not going to be a straight answer because knowing the average account values in America tells you nothing about how you're going to experience retirement. If you have $500,000 saved for retirement, you're already above average because there are so many people facing retirement and they don't have a fraction of that. The same goes if your accounts are up a few $1,000,000 or more. It's all in the eye of the beholder. But there is one key identifier of wealth size for people who are headed for that stable stage of retirement wealth, and here it is. 4% of their total retirement savings combined with their other stable income meets their first year lifestyle needs. I'm going to say that again. 4% of their total retirement savings combined with other stable income meets their first year lifestyle needs. That could be 4% of $500,000, 4% of 1 million, 4% of 2 million, 4% of 3 million. If you've watched very many videos on retirement planning, you've undoubtedly heard about the 4% rule and that it's a conservative number to use when you're planning for an inflation-adjusted withdrawal in your retirement. So you can look and see if 4% of what you've estimated to have saved when you stop working will meet the definition of a stable retirement or not. You'll want to at least achieve the level of having a stable retirement because it means you can have consistent income covering all your basic needs. It means you can have a fully funded emergency savings account. You'll have low debt or no debt. You can have the ability to handle unexpected expenses without having financial stress. You'll have adequate insurance coverage, including your long-term care. And I would say that if you're looking at only successful retirees in America, this is where the vast majority of people end up for their retirement. It's your classic successful retiree. And the reason for this is because of the 401k. 401ks have helped people to sneak money away into their retirement plan without feeling much pain because they've deferred their salary out of sight, out of mind. And that's done a lot of good for a lot of people. But if I had to mention one of the biggest risks for people in this classic retirement, I would say there's probably two things that come to mind, and that is they have the risk of underpreparing for healthcare and the risk of not being wise with taxes. So both of these cause us to experience having less income to spend than we expected. So if you want to maximize your income at this stage, here's what you can do. Optimize your Social Security for your unique plan. If you're married, should one of you take your benefit early and then one of you take it later? Should both of you take it later? Should you spend your investments first and let your Social Security grow? Make sure you optimize it for your plan. And the second thing is you want to do a little tax planning. Specifically, you want to discover your most efficient tax withdrawal strategy. That is, which accounts should you withdraw from first in retirement? Now, learning this for yourself can really help you to make sure that your stable retirement stays that way. Now, you remember how I said that there are three things that happen during the spending years? People who continue to accumulate their wealth throughout their retirement, those who decumulate their wealth and spend it down, and then those people who deplete their savings all the way down and they rely on Social Security for 100% of their retirement needs. Well, this stability phase is somewhere in between the decumulation of their assets and staying even or even slightly growing. Whereas in the next phase, you're going to find something quite different. The fourth stage we could call abundance. This is a great place to be. It's not that a person can't learn to enjoy life with a stable retirement, but being in a place of abundance is much different. People retiring with an abundance, they find themselves thinking very different thoughts than they've ever thought before. They might have spent their entire lives grinding and being smart and saving. And maybe they even had a survival mindset. But that survivor mindset can finally be set aside and the new thoughts can come and they start thinking, how can I make an impact? What gives me meaning and purpose? Don't get me wrong, these are questions we can ask at any level of retirement. I'm being very black and white here, but people who have an abundance face questions like this in a more pronounced way. They have everything they want, but they keep finding that their wealth is increasing as the years go on. Again, it's not exactly tied to an amount of money. It can be, but not always. For example, we have a family that has a tremendous amount of pension combined with their Social Security. Their home is paid off and they've completely covered their lifestyle and they're happy in life and they're barely spending any of their retirement savings. Each year, they're asking different questions than many other retirees. What do we do with this extra money that we have that needs to be withdrawn from our IRAs? What charities do we want to give our qualified charitable distributions to this year? How can we make a bigger impact on our children and grandchildren? And The big one is, what do we do about this tax bill, right? You know, they might have $1 million saved and be in this abundance stage. For others, $1 million has them living back in the stretching phase. It could be $3 million for some families, or it could be more, right? The point is that these people, they've shifted from preservation to legacy thinking. They've gone from paying the bills to generous gifting and legacy planning. I think you can tell that you've shifted from stable to abundance when you notice yourself thinking about these things more and more, and you start to notice new problems. The new problems of tax considerations and some of the challenges that come in gifting. For example, how can we give money away while we're still alive and have our loved ones put it to good use rather than have it do more harm than good? New questions, new challenges. Some people reach the stage before they retire. Some people start out in retirement at that stable stage, but because events played out favorably, they truly became abundant later on. And I believe this happens many more times than you might think. For example, you may spend way less than you planned, which is very common. Your investments might do better than planned. You might come into an inheritance. You might save on taxes, or a combination of things can happen. One thing that stands out is that in order to make the shift, there needs to be a fundamental change in how we look at our tax bill. Rather than letting whatever happen, it becomes increasingly important to take advantage of all the tax planning tactics available, especially if the goal is wealth preservation. So now you know the 4 levels of retirement wealth. You can take the time to review your own retirement plan according to where you are. However, there is information on specific strategies that we haven't been able to cover here. So if you want to know more about how you can optimize your retirement plan, click the link in the description to watch another video where I break this down further. See you in the next video.